Good morning, all. Thank you so much for joining. We are still seeing some people come through, which is great. We'll probably give a couple of minutes more and then probably start with the seminar. I know two words in Spanish, hola and ¿cómo está? ¿Cómo están? Or ¿cómo estás?
Perfecto, Chintan. Gracias, chicos. Ya bienvenidos todos al webinar. Vamos a dar 5 minuticos más para que todas las personas acaben de entrar y ya estamos dando inicio. ¿Tenemos una pregunta por ahí?
Sí,
Sofía,
tenemos.
¿alguien alzó la voz?
Sí, tenemos una pregunta. Justin, ¿podemos
responder esa pregunta mientras
responder
tanto?
esta pregunta antes de empezar?
Just before we begin, quick check. Is the sound okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, it's perfect.
And you guys are able to see my screen as well?
Yeah,
Yes.
Perfect.
yeah, we see your screen all good. Justin, ¿estás por ahí? Ah, no, bueno.
Si quieres, mientras tanto, puedes escribir tu pregunta por el chat, mientras
Eso.
podemos activarte el micrófono.
We can probably wait for a minute more,
Yeah.
and then we could start
We
because
said that
Yeah.
that until 7:05. So 2 more minutes,
Okay, easy.
That
Yeah,
usually-
because
Yes.
Okay.
I already told them that 7:05 we will start. Mhm.
Okay.
En 1 minuto iniciamos. In 1 minute we will start. Listo, vamos a empezar. Buenos días a todos. Mi nombre es Andrés Velasco, soy el fundador de Gaia Life Project. Les quiero dar la bienvenida a este seminar con Webinica Migration y con Chintan, nuestro agente migratorio asociado en este webinar. desde la ciudad de Melbourne. Entonces, vamos a seguirlo de la palabra a Sofía, ¿ok? Quien nos va a dar las direcciones de qué es lo que, cómo va a ser el webinar y las indicaciones a seguir, ¿ok? Dale, Sofía.
Hola a todos, ¿cómo están? Bueno, soy Sofía, también hago parte de la familia Gaia Life Project. Y bueno, pues muy bienvenidos. Les voy a contar para las personas, bueno, pues como vemos, Chintan solo habla inglés. Entonces, para las personas que quieran también tener una guía de lo que él va diciendo en español, aquí en Google Teams, al lado donde tenemos para activar o desactivar nuestra cámara, aparece activar subtítulos. Y ustedes se hacen clic ahí y después se les activa una ventanita a la izquierda. Pueden cambiar el idioma de inglés y poner los subtítulos en español, o si quieren también subtítulos en inglés, pues también los pueden dejar en inglés. Igualmente, desde a partir de que Chintan termine cada diapositiva, Andrés va a hacer un resumen de lo que él dijo en español para que pues se aclaren diferentes dudas y en ese momento abrimos preguntas para que ustedes puedan preguntar exactamente de este tema y que después al final no se nos acumule. Entonces, sí, por ahora sería así. Em, a todos los tenemos pues la cámara y el micrófono bloqueado en este momento, pero en el momento de preguntas los activaremos y abrimos la fila para las preguntas. Pueden ir levantando la mano y
Perfecto,
pues, yo creo que ahí
perfecto.
estamos.
Claro, entonces activar los subtítulos, ¿ok? Para
Ujú.
ir entendiendo mejor lo que Chintan va diciendo. Igual como les digo, al final va a haber como un pequeño resumen de los temas más importantes. Vamos a estar tocando los temas más importantes ahorita relacionados con la COVID visa y las posibles alternativas y también de la postgraduate. Bueno, las dudas que yo sé que muchos tenemos al respecto con todos estos cambios que están sucediendo. Ok, Chintan es un agente con muchísima experiencia, como les digo, en la ciudad de Melbourne y aquí va a aclararnos todas nuestras preguntas. Entonces, Chintan, please start and introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. I didn't understand a single word out of it. I hope that the captions are helping all our viewers today. And hopefully they understand the way I speak English. If at all it's unclear, Andreas and team is kind enough to kind of translate after each of the slides that I'm gonna speak of. Now, just before we begin, wanted to give you a quick introduction. Before I came into migration arena, I used to work with Deloitte for close to 10 years, and I've worked in different jurisdictions, predominantly India, Australia, for UK and for US as well. And obviously, I'm also an immigrant, like most of us in Australia. And my journey was not easy when I came to Australia. I firsthand experienced all the complexities involved in migration law, which prompted me to understand migration law. And I studied migration law and then I'm practicing it now. So I'm really passionate about what I do. And I feel lucky to be in this industry and to assist people like you and me who are trying to find pathways into this beautiful country. So that's a short introduction about the boring or probably the interesting work that I do. And also, just before we begin, I would like to give my acknowledgements or pay my acknowledgements. And I'll read out this slide. So, we acknowledge and pay our respects to the traditional custodians of the land on which we eat, work, and sleep peacefully. We pay our respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging. It gives us immense pleasure to recognize their connection to the history and the indigenous culture of Australia, for which we strive to maintain the integrity by operating in a respectful manner. Now, Andreas and team, if at all you think that there's something that needs to be kind of translated, please stop me, and you can do that translation. Now, again, just before we begin, by show of hands, so there's this raise hand kind of a function. If you could use that, and please let us know how many of you are on a student visa. We see some of the hands going up. Quite a few. So we have got 7 and still counting. 8, 9. So close to 8 people on a student visa. How many on COVID visa? Oof, quite a lot. Close to 7, 9. Okay. 10 people on COVID visa. And then on post-study work visa. How many on post-study work visa? So which is a 485. Okay, we have got a couple on 485
La
visa.
4,
Okay.
485, sí.
Okay, this kind of helps me understand, what would be the urgency of your matter, because anyone who's on a 485, that particular visa has stopped being in existence, and that kind of brings us to this consultation, because we are going to do not consultation but a seminar. What we are going to do is we are going to try and understand if at all there's some migration pathways that might be available for you. But before we do that, let's quickly understand what are the changes that has already happened and what are the proposed changes. Okay, so 408 is already gone. You already know about it. 408 has been a good friend of ours. It's no longer in existence. Anyone who's on a 408 is probably or desperately trying to find pathways to stay in Australia. Obviously, the natural move was to apply for a student visa, but there is some risk of applying a student visa from 408. We'll understand about it, and that's the reason, if at all there's another pathway, employer sponsored or skilled, you should go ahead and identify that. So 408 is done and dusted. Let's talk about 485.
Okay,
Or
stop there for a second. I'm going to translate that part. Okay.
let's do that.
Entonces, chicos, aquí esta parte, como vemos, hay muchos que están en COVID visa, ok. Este es uno de los temas que vamos a tratar, que él está diciendo, la visa 408, que la visa ya se acabó, no existe. Entonces, los que están en esa visa tienen que mirar qué otras opciones hay disponibles, como la training. Bueno, estos son las visas que vamos entonces ahorita a tratar, como la 485, que es la que va a empezar a hablar Chintan ahora. Go ahead, Chintan.
Okay, easy. So 408 is done and dusted. Let's talk about 485. Natural move for anyone who's doing a course. Upon the completion of that particular course, they would go on a 485. They've increased the English level. That's already applicable from 23rd of March. The requisite score that is now required is already mentioned on the screen. And then the most important or the proposed change that may come into effect is this one, the age impact. Now, they may change the age or only allow people who are 35 years and below from the 1st of July 2024 to apply for the 485. Now, there are going to be a few people who are, already above the age of 35 and are studying a course. What about them? That's a natural question. So there's something which is called grandfathering. Obviously, they have not indicated it. Grandfathering means that anyone who's studying a particular course and is going to finish this, and if they apply for a 485, they may still be eligible if they have crossed the 35 years age. Now, nothing has been discussed about it, but it's a general way of doing it. And it has been done previously when the impact is on the people who have already started their journey based on previous law. Okay, so it might come into effect. However, this change of 35 years and under is going to come from 1st of July. If the law is implemented, it's already tabled in the parliament, it may pass through. So we'll have to wait once it becomes a law. But the expected start date is 1st of July 2024. Very important, Andreas, if you can translate this.
Yes, that's right. Entonces, la primera visa que Chintan nos menciona es la 485, la Temporary Graduate. Esa es la cual aplicamos después de 2 años de haber estudiado Higher Education o cuando tenemos para ciertos cursos vocacionales como chef o los relacionados con construcción o childcare. Esta visa antes tenía un nivel de inglés de 6. Los cambios que han tenido esta visa significativos es que ahorita necesitan presentar una IELTS equivalente de 6.5. Subió el requisito de edad, ¿ok? Y también uno de los cambios más significativos que dice Chintan que pasó a esta visa se podía aplicar hasta los 50 años. Ahorita bajaron hasta los 35 años desde el 1 de julio, ¿ok? O sea, solo gente hasta los 35 años cumplidos puede aplicar a esta visa. Ahora, lo que dice que todavía el gobierno está por aclarar qué pasa con la gente que está ahorita en la 485 y que de pronto ya no, que tiene más de 35 años. Y que estaban a punto de aplicar o que iban a aplicar, van a poder aplicar. Él dice que es posible que sí, que hay algo que se llama el grandparenting y que dadas las circunstancias o como ya esto ha pasado antes, ha pasado cosas similares y teniendo en cuenta la historia, es posible que ellos tengan en cuenta eso y las personas que vienen próximas a terminar de aplicar a una graduate visa les dejen así no tengan la edad. Pero todavía esa información está por confirmar. Okay. Chintan, shall we go with questions about this visa or we continue or shall we
Let's finish the last one.
let's finish the last one and then we go to, okay, perfect.
Yeah, if it's pretty straightforward. They've changed the requirement from GT to genuine student. Not much of a change in essence. It's similar questions or the similar areas that they are targeting. So not much of a change that has happened apart from the name. And in the visa application also, they might have directed the questions rather than, having something as a supporting letter or which we used to do previously. So this has already happened. The minimum score for English also has changed for the different courses. So pretty straightforward. Andreas, if you want to kind of, quickly translate this and we can take questions.
Yes, perfect. También él habla de cuáles son los cambios en la visa 500, en la visa de estudiantes, en las cuales están muchos. Bueno, el cambio más significativo es el GT, que es la carta continúa, pero ahorita hay como que unas preguntas extras que ellos están haciendo para ver si la persona es genuina, soy un estudiante genuino. Entonces ahí es importante seguir un curso que sea lineal con lo que ustedes vienen estudiando. Eso que se podía hacer antes, que cambiar de un curso a otro o estudiar algo, lo cual no se pueda justificar muy bien, las están rechazando. Las visas de estudiante dentro de Australia tienen un índice en este momento de rechazo mucho más alto. Antes casi no las rechazaban, ahorita las están rechazando más, entonces hay que tener mucho ojo con el perfil y a lo que se vaya a aplicar. Ahorita es más importante que sea algo relacionado a la carrera de ustedes que a cualquier otra cosa solo por residencia. También subieron el requisito de inglés para aplicar a cursos vocacionales, que pasó de 5.5 a 6. Las escuelas están siendo también más estrictas con este requisito. Algunas piden IELTS, algunas piden su examen para pasar. Entonces son cosas para tener en cuenta. ¿Ok? Go ahead, Chintan. Can continue.
Okay, I think we have already got a question from one of the viewers joining in. And I'm also using the function of translation. I don't know if it's one-on-one or it's visible to everyone.
No, it's visible to everyone, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a very specific question Yusuf Samir has asked, and it's based on his circumstances and not, the general question about 485 or a student visa. What we could do is we could talk about this, on one-on-one once the consultation is kind of over, because it's a very specific question that you have asked that just has an impact on your situation.
Perfect. And so Chintan, that was the answer to the person that is asking here.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
I've translated it, and I know what his question is.
Oh,
Now,
you understood? And so,
yes,
okay, so I was kind of lost in translation because I don't know what I just read the question. Can you repeat the answer, please, so I can translate it? Sorry.
yes. So
Mm,
it's more like it's a personal question or a question based on that gentleman's circumstances, and one-on-one analysis needs to be done because there could be pathways for him. He mentions that he's a circus artist, if I'm not wrong,
mhm.
and he wanted to explore pathways in Australia. Obviously, a detailed analysis needs to be done based on his
Yeah.
circumstances, but we are going to talk about certain visas which he may be eligible for. So stay tuned, Mr. Yusuf Samir. There might be something that would be there for you, and based on certain visas that we talk about, you can look into it.
Ok, para responder la pregunta que nos hicieron, él dice que bueno, que ese es un caso bastante específico por la ocupación, que lo mejor en ese caso es hacer una sesión 1 a 1 para mirar ya las características que es posible, que como con tu ocupación del circo es posible que haya alguna opción, pero eso lo tendrían que ver ya más detalladamente. Que también aquí van a hablar también de otras opciones, de otras visas que de pronto le puedan interesar y también pueda de pronto aplicar. ¿Ok?
We have a second question from Mr. Haider. His question is, what is the requirement for 485 minimum English score requirement? So previously it used to be 6. Now it is 6.5 overall, and then minimum of 5.5 in each of the components. So they've raised the bar from what it used to be before. And also important to note that the English score used to be valid for 3 years for a 485. Now it is only valid for 1 year. So you need to have a test score which has been no longer than 1 year before. Hope it clarifies your
Ok.
question.
Perfect. Entonces, para la pregunta que nos hacen del IELTS, sí, antes era 5.5, ahora subió a 6 para la postgraduate visa, una banda menor de 6, y también otro cambio importante es que antes el IELTS era válido por 3 años, ahora es válido por 2 años, que quiere decir que cuando vayas a aplicar a la graduate visa, a la postgraduate visa, uno de los requisitos fundamentales es tener un 6 en IELTS o equivalente. Si no se tiene ese requisito de inglés, no se puede aplicar desde ahora a la graduate visa y tiene que ser menor de, no más de validez de 2 años, bajo de 3 a 2 años. ¿Ok? Perfect. We can continue.
Okay. We have got a very interesting question coming from Mr. Andrea, and please pardon me if I'm getting the salutations correct or incorrect. Please correct me over there. Okay. So Andrea has asked a very important question, which is, I have a question taking into account my career is in sports and there's no immigration career with sports. Is it almost impossible to aspire a permanent visa? Since the advice is to follow the line of career as you come, it is difficult to reinvent myself and move to a career that has a migratory path. Very good question. Very good
Muy
question, I
buena
would say.
pregunta. Ujú, ujú.
Nobody says that there's no immigration pathway in sports. I've helped a lot of people who are sports administrators, who are footballers, who are tennis coach, who are swimming instructors. So and a horse trainer as well. So there is certainly a possibility of pursuing a career. We just need to identify how that's possible, because there are career options like sports administrator, football coach, tennis coach, yoga instructor as well, horse trainer. It depends on what you have studied and what's the level of your experience, and if you are able to find a sponsor. So it boils down to all of these questions. Very good question. One-on-one analysis needs to be done for this.
Ok, perfecto. Para la pregunta de Camila, dice que, bueno, es una muy buena pregunta y que hay bastantes opciones, que no quiere decir que no tengas una opción migratoria, que él ha tenido clientes que han sido instructores de natación, de fútbol, de tenis, incluso un entrenador de caballos, que pues, se puede ver opciones en la parte administrativa, el nivel de experiencia, de pronto puedes aplicar a un sponsor, pero pues que el mejor consejo es también mirar una consulta uno a uno para mirar exactamente cuáles son tus cualificaciones, tu nivel de inglés, tu experiencia y mirar en qué estado, bueno, pero no quiere decir que no tengas ninguna opción. Muy seguramente mirando bien tu currículum y tu experiencia, algo puede que haya. Perfect, Chintan.
Okay, Andrea and Andres had same questions because Andres is also into a similar situation. So it's the similar answer for Andres as well. Then we have got a question from Diego. What pathway do you suggest for a 35-year-old person currently on a COVID visa who is planning to renew their visa by taking a carpentry course? Very subjective in nature. If you have got some experience, previous experience in carpentry, good to do that. Obviously, there's some sort of risk because you're moving from a COVID visa to a student visa. So weigh in those risks and see what's possible. Okay, so one step at a time, because moving to a student visa is again, a bit of a risky procedure, but we need to see if you have some previous experience and expertise in that. That is the reason you're pursuing this course. Hopefully that answers Diego's question. We'll move on quickly to Heather's question because we have got so many questions coming in, and then we have got some slides as well. We'll take one last question from Heather that has come through. For another migration case, for example, for 189 and 190 points, how long will the IELTS test be valid for? Easy, 3 years.
3 años.
Heather's answer is 3 years. Now, Andreas has again, posted something in Spanish, I believe. I'll quickly take last question. I'm a soccer coach and I have a diploma in management and specialization. Obviously, good. You have got some studies and you have got some work experience as a soccer coach. There might be a possible pathway for you, but you may need some assistance of an employer. Last question, quickly move into the next slide. Sorry about that. We are doing a bit of a time management. Hello, I finished my course at 35 years and 5 months. I can apply for a graduate visa in 2026. Ooh, okay, that's a tough one. From, how do we pronounce Belen? Belen. Okay. Belen, that's a tough one. We'll have to wait for the rules to come out and see if they are grandfathering for the existing people who are pursuing a course that may make them eligible for a 485. Okay.
Let me translate that. Okay, él dice que sí, que es posible que lo puedas hacer, pero van a esperar cuál es lo último que diga el gobierno sobre este grandparenting y a ver si permite a las personas que ya están bajo esta regulación hacerlo. Es bastante posible que sí, pero todavía estamos esperando respuesta del gobierno. Continue, Chintan, sorry.
We have got 2 more questions. Can we please take a note of question from Martha, Caro, and that's it. The 2 questions,
yes,
both
perfect,
of them are related to health. We'll probably,
Sophia, can you take the questions just for later? Okay, vamos a tomar. Entonces, how many more questions are you going to answer now before continuing, Chintan?
Let's continue with the next slide. We'll answer the question of Martha and Caro if we have got some time at the very end.
Okay, perfect. Okay,
Sorry
vamos,
about that.
al final, si tenemos tiempo, vamos a estar respondiendo las otras. Vamos a responder la de Caro y la de Marta. Okay.
Listo.
Continue, Chintan.
Easy. Cool. So let's move on to the next slide. Obviously, anyone who's moving from a 408 to again a student visa, or moving from a 485 to a student visa, or their partner is on a 500 or a 485 and then they are applying for another student visa as a primary applicant, these are all some of the risk factors. This is not published anywhere, but this is something that we have got as a feedback from the universities or colleges, and that's the reason we understand that these are all the risk factors. So when you work with Andreas and team, you talk about all of these, and obviously Andreas is amazing in what he does. He knows about all of these risk factors, and he'll be able to kind of ring fence your case or profile if you have to go to a student visa again. Very important, Andres. Please, if you can make them understand what are the risk factors.
Ok, sí, chicos, tienen que tener en cuenta que ahorita hay bastantes riesgos de factor de COVID a Student Visa. Tienen que tener muy en cuenta que, como les decía, que todo tiene que ser lineal. En este caso es importante que sigan, no necesariamente el camino migratorio en principio, si el cambio es muy drástico, es mejor que sigan la línea. Y bueno, estas cosas siempre están cambiando. Ahorita lo más importante que les puedo aconsejar los que están en Student Visa, seguir estudiando inglés, porque inglés lo están haciendo súper importante. Pueden en principio estudiar un poco más inglés que tenga sentido mientras miran cómo las cosas se terminan de acomodar. Ahorita muchos cambios al principio, yo creo que por ahí unos 6, 8 meses, en un año, ya miraremos bien cómo el gobierno se acaba de establecer. Ok, Chintan, let's continue.
Okay. Moving on to the next one. What are the proposed changes for some of the skilled visas? 189, 190, and 491 are skilled visas. They are going to recalibrate the points test. So what they mean by recalibrating is they might change certain things like, community credential language. They might remove that. Studies in terms of, your overseas studies or your overseas experience, partners English skills or partner skills assessment. So all of these things might change. They've already started a discussion around this, and it may change by the end of the year or next year. So all you need to do is stay tuned to what's happening, and obviously speak to a migration agent or a lawyer to understand what these changes could be and how they could have an impact. Obviously, it's a proposed change. It might happen. It might happen by the end of the year or next year.
Ok, bueno, otra de las visas muy populares, la 189, la Skill Independent o la regional. También hay unos cambios que están propuestos, todavía no los han aprobado, pero parece que van a hacer una calibración de el sistema de puntos. De pronto van a poner más alto el idioma. Bueno, vamos a ver qué es lo que proponen y qué van a aprobar, pero esto no va a ser sino hasta final del 2024, entonces todavía, o temprano 2025, todavía el gobierno está viendo qué cambios. Hasta el día de hoy todo sigue con la misma legislación, no ha habido cambios en la 189. Continue, Chintan.
Easy, cool. So let's move on to the next one. This is obviously based on your skills. Now, if you have got some skills and you have got an employer as well. So for instance, if you're working as a chef or a cook and there's an employer who's ready to kind of, sponsor you, there are some changes that may be introduced by the end of this year or next financial year, beginning of the next financial year. So financial year over here starts from July. So the 482 visa, they are going to rename it as skills in demand visa. Okay. That's the optics of it. But then they would have 3 pathways in skills in demand visa. This is important for us to understand. One is called a specialist skills pathway. Anyone who's having a salary of 135,000 or more is eligible for this. Apart from certain occupations like trades, truck drivers, and all of those, anyone who's a professional and earning 135,000 or more in a year would be eligible for specialist skills pathway. And they have mentioned that they are going to process the visa of these individuals within 7 days. Okay, so that's a very quick processing time. That's number one. But again, it's with the employer. So you'd be employed with someone and stay with them for 2 years, but it's a quick pathway. Then core skills pathway. This is for general occupations like, any engineers who are having salary less than 135,000, but more than 70,000. So they are going to have a list which is not going to be a static list. It is going to be dynamic. So based on demand and supply in the market, this list is going to change. It may change every 6 months or 1 year. So you have to ensure that your occupation is in that list to apply for a 482 visa. So this is a second pathway, which is called core skills pathway. bare minimum 70,000 income, and it needs to be indexed every year. So if the inflation increases by 2%, the salary also should go up by 2%. Okay, so that's the second pathway. And then the third one is called essential skills pathway. This is where I'll quickly address the question of Caro as not Caro, Martha as well. Martha or Caro? I'm quickly trying to see if okay, Caro. So I'll quickly answer the question of Caro as well. She's asked that she studied medicine for 4 years in Chile, but had to leave because of money, and then she started studying accounting to earn money. She wants to go back to healthcare or aged care, and she's close to, but my age worries. So probably she would be, coming close to 40 or 45 years, and she's studying English, and she won't be eligible for a postgraduate visa. That's fine if you have got some experience, and if you study aged care, or if you study disability care, there might be something that would come up for you in the last pathway, which is called essential skills pathway, because there is a severe shortage of aged care and disability care professionals in Australia, and their salary may be under 70K. Okay, so there's the third pathway that might be useful for you. It's not end of the world, Caro. It's just that you need to speak to a good migration agent or a lawyer to help you.
Ok. Perfecto. Ok, entonces, un resumen habla de la 482 o de la famosa sponsor y los cambios que se va a cambiar ahora, la van a llamar Skill in Demand. Ok, 3 pathways, sus 3 caminos. La primera, que todo va a ser de acuerdo a oferta y demanda y pues a los salarios. La más fácil, que es una visa que por lo generalmente se procesa en 7 días. Casi cualquier ocupación que se gane de $135,000 al año o más. Ok. Cualquier persona que gane esto podría aplicar ya de una vez y que esté sponsoreada, podría aplicar a esta visa y es bastante rápida. También está el Core Skill, también de acuerdo a la oferta de la demanda, con un salario de $70,000, y Essential para las personas, por ejemplo, que hablábamos del área de salud, del caso que estaba diciendo Chintan, de la cliente que nos estaba escribiendo, ¿no? Que tienen también un salario de 70,000, y dependiendo de oferta de la demanda y si son de estas áreas que el gobierno considera que son esenciales, también se podría aplicar. All good, Chintan.
Okay, perfect. Let's move on to the next slide. So these are, some of the recent changes or proposed changes that would have an impact on your life in a very big way. So stay tuned to this, and a lot more is happening in migration. Now, what I'm going to do for the next 5 or 10 minutes is we'll look at why budget is so important. And I've got 2 screens, so I'll be looking into the other screen while sharing my screen. And then we'll see, for some of the occupations like cook or chef, what's the competition. We'll do a live data crunching. Okay, so stay tuned. I'm going to quickly stop presenting and then start presenting again. Once I've got the exact slides.
Aquí nos va a presentar los números y por qué el presupuesto es tan importante. Vamos a ver los números actuales de las ocupaciones, cómo se están moviendo.
Okay, so please let me know if you're able to see my screen. This is all live data monitoring that we are doing. And this is again, published on the department's website.
Publicado en vivo por el Departamento de Migración, las estadísticas y los números.
Now, every year there's a budget that comes through, and it talks about, the planning levels. How many visas are they going to grant in a single financial year? So skilled independent is 189, regional is 491, state or territory is 190. Last year they had these numbers. This year they have these numbers. Okay, so almost same, but let's see what are the actual numbers. These are planning levels. Okay, so the actuals could be different. Just have a mental snapshot of the 491 regional, that is 32,300, state or territory nominated 30,400. Just have a mental snapshot of the planning levels. We see the actuals at the very end. They've published the actuals. So 190 instead of 30,000, they've reduced it to 10,300, which is a big reduction. For 491, from 32,000, they've reduced it to 6,400. That is the reason everyone is facing a huge competition. Okay, huge competition. This is based on your skills without the help of the employer. Okay, now the important thing that I've observed in your community or the Spanish speaking community is that you have got amazing skills with your hands or feet. So someone said that they are already a football coach. Someone already mentioned that they are into sports. Someone already mentioned that they are chef or cook, circus artist, or in aged care or disability care. So these are some of the jobs that are really in demand. But what you need to do is find an employer, because this is very competitive. It's not that it's not possible, but it's very competitive. So if you have got some experience, it always helps you. And the number is based on each of the state or territory. So you could see, most of you guys would be in Queensland, Gold Coast. That's what I've been informed by Andreas. So look at the numbers for 491, 650, nothing. 900 for 190, nothing. Last year, these numbers, I remember for Victoria, because I predominantly practice in Victoria, this was 12,700, 12,000. And this was 3,500. This has reduced significantly in this year because we have allowed, as a country, so many students to come in, and the rental crises are there and all of those things. So understanding budget at the beginning of the year is very important. That's the only message, Andreas, that I want to give to the community. Understanding the budget at the beginning of the financial year is very important.
Ok, aquí cuando se refiere a presupuesto es el presupuestado o el número que tiene presupuestado el gobierno otorgar visas y la gran variación de los años anteriores a este. Digamos, lo que mostró ahí es que de 30.000 cupos que había el año pasado, en promedio se pasaron a 2.000, 6.000. Entonces, que aquí el mensaje que quiere decir es que hay una reducción muy significativa en el cupo de las personas ahora que están aceptando para estos tipos de visa, lo que hace decir que la competencia es muy reñida, porque ahora solo están aceptando los mejores de los mejores. Y pues esa es la tendencia ahora, pues por los precios de la vivienda y pues por todas las quejas que ha habido ahorita en Australia. Pero bueno, eso lo cambian año por año, eso ahora es así, no quiere decir que siempre sea así, puede decir que más adelante puedan otra vez abrir los cupos, pero ahorita desafortunadamente esa es la realidad. Continue, Chintan.
Okay, muy important, which means I think very important.
Very
Yes, it is
important,
very important. Yes, very
yeah.
important. Now we are
Very
doing
important.
some live data crunching. I hope you have had your coffees. So we are going to talk about, chefs or cooks. My favorite occupation. So
Vamos a
favorite
hablar de
as
los
such.
chefs
Yes.
favorita.
Yes. So let's look at the live data crunching. This is again the department's website. I'm not pulling a rabbit out of the hat. Okay, this is live data crunching. I'm not talking about something which is not there. This is as recent as 31st of March 2024, and we are already on 28th of April. Okay, let's filter the data by occupations and points, and then let's see what we come up with. Obviously, chef is for 190, cook is for 190. So we see cook, and then we see how many expression of interest have already been submitted. That's your competition. Lodged means they've lodged a visa. Invited means they've been invited for a visa. Hold means they're making some changes, not your competition. Closed means they've been granted a visa. Submitted is your competition. So submitted and waiting. 65 is the bare minimum eligibility. Okay. So cooks for 190, we see that these are the numbers at different points. Okay. At 70, there are 395. At 75, there are 272. At 80, there are 157.
Let me translate that part. Chicos, están mostrando los números, por ejemplo, para chefs, ¿ok? El número de grupos que tienen y las personas que se presentan. Obviamente son muchas más las personas, esa es la última, hacia marzo del 2024. Son muchas más las personas, como se pueden dar cuenta, que se presentan, que tienen exterior para los cupos que ellos tienen. Lo vuelve y dice, o sea, mucha competencia. Y eso solo para chef, que es como de las más pedidas.
Okay,
Continue.
now let's quickly change it to take a mental picture: 65, 378, 70, 395. Let's see the difference. How many people are there for chef?
Mhm.
Oops, not here. 189. Look at the numbers.
Mhm.
So you see the difference at 65. Oh, there were close to 250 or 300 chefs, more in number, significantly more in number.
Sí.
So the competition is very high for chefs.
Para los
Why
chefs,
do you think the
competencia
competition is
muy,
very high?
muy fuerte. Ujú. Sorry.
So the competition is very high for chef. It's because chef falls in the 189 list. Everyone wants to do a skills assessment for 189 because 189, if you're eligible for 189, you can do 189, 190, and 491. That's the reason people do chef as a skills assessment, and that's the reason we are seeing too much competition over here. That's fine. Doesn't matter. If you're a chef or a cook, you should do an employer sponsor if you have got some experience. That's my understanding.
Dice que si es que bueno, que si es un chef, si ustedes, alguno de ustedes es chef, es mejor hacer un employer sponsor porque el asiento 90 está muy, muy, muy competida. Si tienen algo de experiencia, mejor él recomienda así employer sponsor. Ujú.
Okay,
Continue,
so
Chintan.
this is some live data crunching that we have done. There's a lot more that we could do, but we'll come back to it. Considering the time we have, we need to kind of discuss some other visas as well. So we have already seen the bad news till now. Student visas, something bad is happening. 189, 190, 491, very competitive. What else do we have? So this is one visa that you could kind of look into, which is called a training visa. Now,
Ok, let me stop there for one second to introduce. Ok, bueno, ya terminamos como todas las malas noticias, todos los cambios que habían en las visas que hablamos. Ahorita vamos a hablar un poco también de las no tan malas noticias y qué se puede hacer, qué hay nuevo. Ok, y aquí vamos a empezar a hablar de esta nueva que es la 4707 Training Visa. Continue, Clayton.
very important question by Mila. Any changes to 820? Yes, there are some changes, but not that it would impact you in a great way. If you have already got an Australian partner or a citizen or a permanent resident, the visa is expensive, but do a partner visa. Do a partner visa. If you have already got a partner who is an Australian citizen or a permanent resident, without even thinking, go for a partner visa. Obviously, you need to prove that the relationship is genuine and ongoing, but it is far more easier as compared to doing all of these things.
Ok. Entonces, con respecto a la visa de pareja, dice que sí, que es bastante costosa, pero el que tenga alguna pareja o alguna relación con alguna persona que sea residente o ciudadano australiano, háganlo. Háganlo, que realmente las cosas con las otras visas no está tan fácil, entonces que esta podría ser una buena opción, que no ha habido cambios realmente significativos en esta visa. Continúe, Chintan.
And there's a question from Alfonso, if there could be someone who's, um, uh, probably helping in translation as well, if at all there's a consultation that could happen. Obviously, Andreas and team could look into it. So that's my response to Alfonso as well. I think we are up to date in terms of question and answer. We'll come to the 407. Okay, this visa is going to be hot in demand because a lot of people might go ahead with this visa. Now, what's the purpose of this visa? It's very important to understand. And to understand that, we just read this line, or I hate to read anything from the presentation, but this is a very important line. It is not designed to fill labor shortages and therefore not appropriate for people whose sole intention is to undertake work. So if at all you have got 2 years of work experience, I would not suggest to apply for this visa. If you have just got 1 year of work experience in the last 24 months, and if you have studied something relevant, then this is the visa that's there for you. Andreas, if you can
Okay.
translate.
Ok, entonces chicos, esta es una nueva visa que es para enfrentar ¿cómo se dice? Pucha, me confundí. La falta de empleados en Australia, de personal, ¿ok? Entonces, para esto requieren, sorry, I forgot how much experience, Chintan, you said that is required for this
So
one?
if someone has got 1 year of experience in the last 24 months, 1 year full-time experience in the last
Alguien
24 months,
Alguien
then
que tenga
they are
un
eligible.
año de experiencia en los últimos 4 meses, en los últimos 24 meses, que tenga un año de experiencia, puede aplicar a esta visa. ¿In any occupation, Chintan? Or just in
Most
certain
of the
occupations?
occupations, because there are
Okay.
close to 509 occupations that are available, and I'm more
Right.
than happy to share the slide. You can share the slides with the attendees if you think it's
Entonces,
all right. But the list is here.
ok, hay una lista y hay una lista de ocupaciones, más de 500 nuevas ocupaciones, de las cuales ustedes pueden aplicar si digamos están en una COVID visa de pronto y no sabían y de pronto llevan un año trabajando en alguna de estas ocupaciones, pueden pedir a esta training visa. Es una nueva opción que se abrió para muchas personas en COVID. How long is this visa valid for, Chintan?
So it depends on the training plan. So if the training plan is for 1 year, the visa would be granted for 1 year. If the training plan is for 2 years, it could be granted for 2 years, not more than 2 years.
Es dependiendo, como es una visa de entrenamiento, puede ser de un año o de 2 años, no más de 2 años, dependiendo del entrenamiento que tengan. Y bueno, ya después de esa experiencia, muy probablemente después podrían aplicar algo más. ¿Ok? Pero es una nueva ahora.
And the most important thing is you need an employer to support you. Okay, so the employer needs to support you.
Lo más importante que necesitan tener un empleador que los apoye o que apoye la aplicación o que los contrate. Es como el sponsor más o menos. Is there a limit on the salary or not?
No limit on salary.
Y no hay limitación del salario. Entonces, sí, una muy buena opción también. Continue,
And look at the
Chintan.
English requirements as well, very low.
Y algo muy bueno también, no se necesita tanto inglés, 4.5. Entonces, ahí está más fácil que otros. Sí, dinos, Sophie.
Chintan, I would like to ask you, do you need like also studies in the same like job that you might be applying in this training visa? Or
Ideally,
or
yes.
ideally,
Ideally,
okay.
yes. Ideally, yes. So I'll give you a quick example. Andreas has come to Australia. He's studied certificate 3 and 4 in cookery. And then, he did some odd jobs, but he's got at least 1 year of experience. Now he's running out of his visa. His last visa is 485, but he's got at least 1 year of experience as a cook or chef. Now he cannot do a 482 because 2 years experience is required to do a 482. And he's on a 485. He's just got 1 year experience, so he can he's already working at a restaurant. He can, with the support of his employer, do a 407, complete 1 more year, then do a 482, and then apply for a permanent residency. Okay, so it's a pathway, but it's a long pathway, and you need an employer to support you.
Necesitan un empleador, es un camino largo, pero sí se puede hacer así como de la forma que acaba de explicar él. Es posible, es largo, pero posible en este momento. Acuérdense también de si les interesa una asesoría personalizada o saber más, escribirse en el formulario que les estamos enviando el link por mensaje, ¿ok? Escribirse en el formulario para una cita personalizada, si tienen casos ya específicos, ¿ok? Continue, Chintan.
And this is again, if Andrea and Andreas is here, they spoke about being in sports, football coach or sports administration related thing. If they've got an employer who's able to kind of support them, this is something that they could pursue. And if they've got some more experience, we'll talk about another visa. If you've got already 2 years of experience and some relevant studies, we'll come to the next one, which is 482, which is called temporary skills shortage visa. For this, you need to have at least 2 years of experience, and there is higher kind of a requirement in terms of proving that you have got skilled work experience, obviously all your documents need to be in order. Again, another thing that I've observed with a lot of Spanish community is that they don't have work experience related documents. So if they worked as a cook or a chef and you were paid in cash, that is a trouble. Okay, so have all your work experience related documents, have all your payments deposited in your bank account. Try and avoid working on cash. So these are some of the things that could help you when you're applying for other visas.
Ok. Bueno, otra visa importante es la 482. Esta es, si ustedes tienen experiencia, también por ejemplo lo que hablaban de los que estaban en deportes y esto, si hay una posición que el empleador no puede llenar, esta es una visa para las que les da 2 años. Dependiendo de la ocupación y de la lista, hay una que es por 2 años, que es la short, y otra que es elegible hasta 4 años. En este caso, there's no age requirement, right? No hay requerimiento de edad for this visa.
So for this, no age requirement. But then when you move on to a permanent visa, there's going to be an issue if you are 45 or more. But if you have already got this visa before you are 45, I think it should be fine.
Ok, que para esta no hay edad, pero después si van a aplicar a una residencia permanente, sí tiene que ser menos de 45, ok.
So we'll quickly move on to another one as well, because we have got 4 minutes, and then we have Q&A as well, because I see a lot of questions coming in about the occupation.
Perfecto. Vamos a hablar de una más y después vamos a las preguntas y respuestas, porque vemos que hay bastantes preguntas para responder. Go ahead.
So something similar to this could be done from anywhere, Brisbane, Melbourne, all the metro cities as well. You could do this. If your employer is in the regional, then also they could do a 482. But a 494 can be done for someone whose occupation is not in the 482 list, or someone who's got some work experience but has an odd job. So the list is different for the 494, and the requirements are also different. You need 3 years of work experience, and a skills assessment is mandatory unless an exemption applies. Okay, so that's a major difference. This is a regional one. You'll have to work and stay in the regional for 5 years, and then you could apply for a permanent residency. Okay, so this is a bit strict, but this has got some very odd occupations. So if your occupation does not fall in the 482, you could explore this. The only issue would be 3 years work experience, and then a skills assessment is mandatory. Okay, so a tough one, not very important. Most of the people would be qualifying for 407, 482, and then 186.
Ok, esta es otra regional parecida a la anterior, pero tiene otras ocupaciones que no son tan comunes, que son más extrañas. Pero para esto ustedes tienen que permanecer por lo menos 5 años en la región, tener 3 años de experiencia relativa en la ocupación nominada, y igual hacer el Skills Assessment, hacer que les hagan la validación del título, ¿ok? Y tener obviamente el lenguaje del inglés, tener el test, el requisito de inglés. Continue, Chintan.
Okay, and then we come on to the last one, which is a permanent visa, 186. So if you are on a 482 visa for 2 years with the same employer, you can transition to a permanent resident visa with the same employer. Okay, so it's a pathway.
Ok, esto es un camino de la 482, de la del sponsor. Si duran 2 años con el mismo sponsor y el empleador los nomina, pasan directamente a la 186, que es directamente a residencia, es una residencia. O sea, hacen sus 2 años de sponsor y después de eso aplican a esta 186. Tiene requisitos de edad, it has age requirements, 45 years old, hasta los 45.
Yeah. So 45 usually, unless there is an exemption, and it applies on certain cases as well. So 45 is something that people need to take care. If they are hitting that 45 age, a lot of visas would be out for them.
Sí, hay que tener en cuenta la edad, que solo hasta los 45, después de los 45, no. No English requirement, right? In this visa.
Sorry, what? Knowing?
No English requirement for this visa?
If you're transitioning, there is a lesser threshold of an English, but it's required. Skills assessment is in a way not required if you are transitioning because you've already worked on a 482. So
Okay, but
depending on what kind of stream you're applying, again, English requirements may or may not be there. Best to have individual consultation on your cases.
ok, en este caso no se necesita el Skills Assessment porque ya se hizo en la 482, que es posible que se requiera algo de inglés, pero de pronto no tan alto. Eso depende del stream que vayan a aplicar y depende de caso por caso. En ese caso es mejor mirar el caso personal con una cita 1-1 para mirar a cuál podrían aplicar. Perfect, Chintan.
Hitting on the clock, I guess that's about it. We can open it for 6 minutes for Q&A. I think we have done
Yeah.
or already answered a lot of them. I see few questions. Alfonso has written a question.
Entonces, chicos, vamos con preguntas. Si tienen preguntas, pueden escribirlas en la casilla que las vamos a estar contestando.
I think Alfonso's question has been answered. Heather's question is, how many occupations are there for 407? We'll quickly I'll show you the list of how many occupations are there. There are close to 509 occupations. You could look into the list here. I'll put the screen. So 407 visa, and then this is the entire list. So there are so many occupations, you could look into it. I think driver is not there. Diego asked a question if driver is there or not. Let's see if at all it's there. Nope, driver is not there.
Driver no está, no se puede aplicar a la 407 para Diego.
But a lot of occupations are there.
Pero muchas otras ocupaciones están ahí.
We have got one more question coming from Andrea. We'll quickly translate that. For a skilled visa, being an industrial engineer with more than 8 years of experience, how difficult is it to process in Sydney, or what other type of visa can I apply, since I have found it difficult to get a sponsor because in my experience they require full-time people, and the restriction if you are a student visa you are automatically excluded from the process. Yes, it's very true. Andrea's question is very, very pertinent, but the good thing is that you've already mentioned that you've got 8 years of experience and you've got requisite studies as well. Best to get a skills assessment. Anyone who studied engineering from overseas, a 3-year or a 4-year degree, they may be eligible to get a skills assessment. So at least get a skills assessment first if you are studying, because you are eligible for it, and with a bare minimum English you may be eligible to do a 189, 190 and 491. Eligibility does not guarantee you an outcome, but at least begin your process with skills assessment. And again, you'll have to broaden your horizon in terms of studying something else as well if you're not able to secure a job as an industrial engineer. That is true for all the engineers.
Ok, let me translate that. Esta para Andrea y para todos los ingenieros. Es que él dice que el mejor consejo para ti es que hagas el Skills Assessment para ver si eres elegible y puedes aplicar. Que el hecho de ser elegible no quiere decir que vas a estar adentro, pero si pasas el Skills Assessment, muy seguramente puedes aplicar una 189 o una 190. Pero también estar preparada a de pronto ampliar tus horizontes a otras cosas si no encuentras trabajo en el área. Go ahead, Chintan.
Okay, I'm just trying to see what all questions have we answered. So Andrea's is done. For a person who is finishing his master's degree and has 36-year-old and wants to apply for 485 visas, is this person banned for 485 visa, or what is the scenario because past the age limit? Again, Heather, yes, you may be impacted by the new law that is coming into place. Hopefully there is some sense into it and they grandfather it. If not, you would severely be impacted by this. So you need to explore it, and hopefully it has some grandfathering rules that allows you to apply for a 485. If not, you would be impacted. Stay tuned. The rules would be out by 1st of July 2024. That's my expectation.
Ok, lo que él dice para Haider, que hay que esperar hasta el 1 de julio a ver qué dice el gobierno. El gobierno no ha tomado una decisión en este caso, si va a hacer el grandfathering con las personas que ya vienen o se van para graduar para que pueda. De otra forma no sea posible, pero hay que mirar, todavía nada está tomado, a ver qué decisión se toma hasta el 1 de julio. Continúe, Chintan.
So there's a question from, I think, Sophia, what's the cost of a training visa? The training visa is very cost effective as well because the visa price is 405. However, there are some other things that a sponsor also needs to do. So sponsorship cost is 420, and I think nomination is 540 as well. So this is a very cheap visa, and the scrutiny for this visa is going to go up really high. The processing times are also very high. So you could buy time while applying for this visa, but I'm assuming that there's going to be a crackdown on this visa. Okay, there's going to be a severe crackdown on this visa because a lot of people are going to apply for this.
Ok, perfecto.
Great.
Esta visa cuesta 420 a 540 dólares, que no realmente es muy cara, pero mucha gente está aplicando, que se puede aplicar como para ganar tiempo, porque los tiempos de proceso también son muy largos, pero que él cree, por lo que está viendo, que es algo que, una visa que está aplicando mucha gente y que muy posiblemente le van a poner el ojo dentro de poco. Continue, Chintan.
Okay, we have a question from Julian. If my partner is the main applicant for COVID visa and I'm a professional and I have not studied in Australia, I could consider renewing with English or going for higher education such as master's degree. Okay, again, a very good question. Please don't select anything which is cheap. They are going to refuse your visa based on current scenario. And obviously you are in safe hands of Gaia Life Project, Andreas and team. They would be able to help you. But my suggestion would be go for something which is at least bachelor's or master's, so that you could have a safe landing in terms of your student visa. Obviously, getting an offer letter is also tough now if you are a secondary applicant and applying, but Andreas and team would take care of it.
Ok, sí, en eso te podemos ayudar. Lo que él dice es que realmente para ir a la segura, nada de estos cursos baratos o de estos de visa de antes, algo realmente enfocado a lo tuyo, inglés, y lo que él recomienda es ya sea un bachelor o un máster, como por irse por el lado seguro. Nos puedes inscribirte y buquear una consulta con nosotros para aconsejarte cuál puede ser el mejor escenario en tu caso. We can continue.
I've already answered Angela's question. I've shared a link of the skilled occupation list that may be helpful for others as well. And then we have got Martha's question. She's mentioned she's got skills assessment as a human resource advisor, and she's on a 500 visa and she's already 40. If you have got some experience, Martha, human resource advisor falls in the 491 list. If you've got some experience, you could, apply for a 491 if you're already in the regional, and you could also find a job as a human resource advisor. And if the employer is able to kind of, support you, you can look for 494 or a 4 or something like similar to a 494. 494 is, I think, ideal for you. If you have got 3 years of work experience, you've already got skills assessment. Okay, so 494 right option for you.
Que si ya tienes el Skills Assessment y tienes por lo menos 3 años de experiencia, la visa más acorde para ti es la 494. Okay. Para las personas que no alcanzaron a entrar y desean ser contactados personalmente, por favor, regístrense en el link. Okay.
Then we have a question last question from Heather. What is the minimum score to apply for 189, 190 visa for being granted? Okay, the eligibility is 65. Grant could happen at, I don't know, depends on your occupation. So if you're a registered nurse and you have 65 points, you could receive an invite because the occupation is in demand. If you are an early childhood teacher, if you have got 65 points, you can receive an invitation and a visa could be granted at 65. But if you're a cook or a chef, we have already seen the competition, so it might come, it might not come through. Depends on your occupation. However, the minimum qualifying points are 65.
65 y depende de la ocupación, ¿ok? Continue, Chintan. One
We
more,
are
maybe
starting
any
from,
other? The last one.
okay, if my partner is working in carpentry and it's thinking on studying a certificate in carpentry, would this still be viable? Depends on your situation. I don't know what visa you're on, Angela, and what is the background of your partner as well. So it depends. One-on-one consultation first with an education consultant is required, and then you should always consult from the migration agent or a lawyer as well. Okay, that's my understanding, because it's very case specific. I don't know the full details of your case.
Ok, es un caso muy específico. Es mejor que buques una consulta primero con el agente de estudios, para ver cuál es el curso que mayor te conviene, y si es necesario con el agente migratorio para ver qué otras cuestiones extras se puedan necesitar para la aplicación.
Last two
Eh,
questions.
Las últimas dos preguntas.
And Vivian, because we don't have any questions. Let's quickly answer Heather's question. Environmental engineer is in demand, but at the same point in time, do you have a skills assessment? Do you have good English levels? And we could look into, what's the competition for the occupation as well. Now, Heather, it's important for you to understand that you're competing with close to 400, 500 occupations. Okay, so even if you are competitive in your own occupation, it does not guarantee that you are going to get a 189 or 190. So case-to-case based analysis is important. And if you are at 80, 85, I would think your profile is competitive for environmental engineer. Again, it's competitive. It does not mean that you are going to get an invite for sure. Okay, so that's important for you to understand. Last question, Vivian. I have a COVID visa. It will expire in 4 months. I'm living in Perth. I'm 39. I finished my studies in English. I'm professional in marketing, and I want to look for my PR. What do you recommend? Highly recommend you to book a consultation.
Sí, cuadrar una consulta altamente recomendable para mirar cuál es tu caso. Para mirar en detalle.
From Natalia. I'm an environmental engineer with skills assessment approved, actually living in Tasmania. My visa expires in September. Okay, we have got Carolina as well. This stresses me out because there's a question from Carolina as well and Hanan. Can we take the questions and I can, or if they are there, I'm more than happy to quickly answer them, but we close at 11:15. Like the questions we close at 11:15.
Yes, exacto.
After that, nobody can ask a question.
Exacto, vamos a cerrar las preguntas a las 8:15 y todo lo que esté hasta ahí se va a responder, ¿ok? Continue.
Okay, so Natalie, I'm an environmental engineer with skills assessment approved, actually living in Tasmania. Good. My visa expires in September, but I don't have experience. Which visa you think could be okay, Natalie, very subjective question. You're in Tasmania. Environmental engineers are in demand for sure, but you need to find a job, a relevant job in your occupation to help you, because Tasmania has got some rules that are flexible for people who are already there and working in their own occupation. Now, if you are able to find a job in your own occupation, 491 or 190 from Tasmania is 100% possible. You have got very less time. So I would suggest, at least book in a consultation and explore your pathways. You need to have a plan B.
Ok, necesitas tener un plan B, pero dice que si tienes experiencia en la ocupación en la cual te vas a presentar, es posible que vas a aplicar a la 491 o a la 480. Importante separar una consulta para mirar tu caso específico, pero que en Tasmania podría ser posible. Okay. Next one.
Okay, Carolina has got a question. She's got a skills assessment as a marketing specialist. She's already in Victoria. She has got decent English as well. She's not able to find a job. Yes, that's an issue with a lot of people. They're not able to find a job. But if you are really good in your own skills, I would say if you are self-employed as well as a marketing specialist, you may be eligible for it. And if you have already got a skills assessment, you are already eligible for a 491 or a 190, even if you are working in a different job. Okay, so you are eligible for it, but marketing specialist people are not getting an invite unless they've got superior English. This is specifically for Victoria and very high salary. Okay, if you are married or you are in a de facto, your partner skills also come into play. So yes, have a consult and probably explore options. Self-employment might help you.
Que una opción que él puede decir es self-employment, o sea que tú te puedas hacer autoempleado, eso también depende de cuánto puedas demostrar en lo que ganas, que para el Skills Assessment de Marketing bastante competido. Victoria puede ser una opción. También lo que él recomienda es reservar una consulta para ver los detalles de tu caso.
We have got a question from Hernan. Okay, a very detailed question. I'm going to read that
Yes,
out.
we already closed. So these are the last questions. We already closed the questions. Okay.
Easy.
Yes.
So Hernan's question is, my wife and I are in Melbourne on a student visa, and I'm studying certificate 3 in cookery, but she wants to study 2. For this, she wants to give up my visa and apply a loan so that we can both study and improve our profiles. But then we want to apply for permanent residence, and she will be the main proponent for permanent residence because due to her age, she has more options. So how have we thought, is it possible if we both apply for permanent residence, she will be the main applicant? Would it matter if I'm little over 45 years old? Okay, Hanan, a lot of visas get closed for you if you are already 45 or if you would hit 45 or more. Good idea of your partner or your wife pursuing something, but you need to be careful because the student visa conditions would not allow sometimes your partner to study for more than 3 months or something. So there's something that we need to kind of see how best we could address that situation. Again, a consultation may be something that we could look into. I don't have a direct or a ready-made answer for you. Look into the visa conditions of your wife, see if it has got any restrictions in terms of studying. I think there might be some restrictions.
Perfecto. Bueno, esa también dice que lo mejor es buscar, que es un caso complicado, hay que mirar como los detalles, hay que mirar los detalles de la visa de tu esposa, a ver cuáles son las restricciones que puede haber, que hay que tener en cuenta que los 45 años es una edad que, bueno, está bastante riesgosa ahorita, entonces mejor pronto mirar el caso de tu esposa, pero sería bueno analizarlo más a profundidad para ver cuáles serían las opciones. Continue.
Okay. We have got a question from Eliandra as well, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly.
Alejandra.
So Eliandra is saying that they're based in Perth and working in aged care for 6 months, industrial engineer, and the husband is data engineer. Do we really have a chance? Yes, you have a chance. But again, most of the times you would suffer having less points because of English and partner skills or something, but your aged care thing may work for you. So you should look into probably doing, certificate 3 or 4 in aged care. And then the pathway that we discussed, 482 and then 186, it may be possible for you because they are relaxing some of the requirements over there. So if you're already in aged care, think of, doing at least certificate 3 or 4 in aged care. That might help you.
Entonces él dice que sí es posible, que ya como estás trabajando en el sector, recomendaría hacer un certificado 3 y certificado 4 o certificado 3 y diploma en Aged Care para después poder aplicar la 482 o la 186. Dice que Western Australia se está abriendo, está dando oportunidades en ese sector. Okay. And so, Chintan, thank you very much. That's it for today. I think the explanation was very clear. Lots of things going on. It's important for you guys to book an appointment. We send you the link to book an appointment with Chintan or with us to see your chance cases in detail. Thank you very much, Chintan, for your time. I'm going to say goodbye in Spanish. And so, gracias a todos, chicos, por asistir a este webinar. Les invito a registrarse en el link para buquear una consulta con nosotros y ver los casos de ustedes más a detalle. Esta sesión va a estar grabada y la vamos a estar transmitiendo para los que se perdieron de alguna cosa. Va a estar también traducida para los que tampoco alcanzaron a entender algo. Obviamente estos son temas que se tienen que mirar caso a caso, a profundidad. Esto es lo que tratamos de hacer, es dar una idea general y dar algún tipo de tranquilidad de opciones. Estén pendientes a nuestras actualizaciones y próximos webinars y próximas actividades que tenemos. Muchas gracias por su tiempo a todos y por su participación. Que tengan un feliz día.
Chao,
Bye,
chao.
bye.
Thank you so much. Thanks for taking time out on Sunday. Cheers. Thanks. Bye.